capping the well. But we're sitting on top of a toxic time bomb here that is largely being ignored. And from my sources inside of the NOAA, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, all of the employees and all of the department heads in there with all their PhDs are just ignoring the facts of evaporation. What reports are starting to appear on YouTube. And when I started to see some of these reports, the first report I saw was from a farmer in North Carolina or South Carolina. And, one thing I know from being a tree planter and combed the earth for 22 years myself is that farmers know more about what's happening in the earth, in the land, than anybody with a PhD sitting there with a piece of paper. And that is one of the problems my source in NOAA is saying, is these people are not even awake. I send her all these reports, all the videos, and we're about to go into the areas that are being affected.
Now, David, if this cap works, will this toxic rain and other environmental problems continue, and if so, for how long?
They will absolutely continue, and if you follow the Gulf Stream, where you see the flow of warm air, following the ocean currents all the way out of the Gulf, around the southern tip of Florida, all the way up the eastern seaboard, you'll see where the fuel is going to be carried and where the fumes are going to be carried. In fact, someone sent me a video from the FLIR cameras that were used to, in Mexico, they saw UFOs on the forward-looking infrared cameras.
Yeah.
Those cameras, they have special cameras there that can see evaporation happening live. In fact, there was a news report on the news of the camera being used at a gas station, and the customers were just shocked looking through the lens and seeing how much vapor is evaporating when you're filling up your tank. Well, those hydrocarbons and fuels and mercury and benzene and sulfur dioxide are evaporating off of the crude. And the rate of evaporation, the warmer the water gets, the higher the evaporation. Now, those fumes you're talking about, cubic volumes in millions of cubic meters of evaporated fuel floating in the atmosphere, just waiting for a weather system to come in, pick up those moisture droplets, and start carrying them north.
Now, does this stuff all go up into a cloud-like formation, David, or how does it drop down on us?
Well, first it just goes into the humidity factor in the air, and being the tropics and Florida, you're talking about high levels, and levels of benzene that are so high that if you breathe it even locally, you could actually die over a period of time. But and the period of time doesn't have to be that long. I mean, we're already seeing, secret videos on YouTube of oil spill workers being carried away in ambulances that appear to be either critically ill or dying. And the police assist British Petroleum in the cover-up of that process. And that point alone really disturbs me, because you're seeing a corporation usurping a government body, a government entity, which is illegal and unconstitutional. And you see this woman with her camera, and she's not afraid of this, 6'4" police officer trying to get her out of the way from seeing this oil spill worker, an African American, being carried away and probably near his death. We know from reports on the Exxon Valdez spill, which was a fraction of this spill, only 11 million gallons as opposed to 300 million gallons.
A lot of people got sick.
Most of the workers didn't live past 50. So let's look at where the reports are coming from. I'm seeing YouTube reports from North Carolina, South Carolina, all over Florida, all over the state of Atlanta, Texas. You're seeing leaves after a rain burning holes and burning and scorching the plants. You're seeing organic farmers in the Midwest, literally in the Mid-East West. You're seeing their entire corn crop destroyed.
It's going up that far?
Even further. Wait before we go. We have a report from North Dakota on the Canadian border.
Oh, my.
And what they're seeing is dead fish all over the lake. Dead fish all over the lake. Now, let's stop there, because all the fish are dying in North Dakota in the lakes. And all of the 4th of July fishermen were shocked when they showed up with their fishing rods, and all the fish are dead. And there's fuel, a thin layer of oily film on the surface of the water. Now, how the heck did these fumes get all the way to North Dakota and then Ontario, Canada? The same reports.
That's scary. David, stay with us. We're going to take this quick break. We'll come right back with you. David's website is linked up right now at coasttocoastam.com. And those of you who continue to email, you know the email address. Those of you brand new to the program, it's George at Coast2, coast-to-coastam.com. I'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. We're with David Sarita. David, we were talking about just how far this stuff can go, and apparently it's going all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, the report I have is from Columbus, North Dakota, Short Creek Dam, where they found an oily film floating on the top of the reservoir water after a rain, and all the fish were dead, and nobody went swimming. The water quality apparently was so bad. Now, remember, we see all the fish dead there. Now, our friend James Fox went into the Gulf, took water samples out of the Gulf water, the ocean water, had it tested at an independent lab, and found the parts per million, let alone billion, were 150 times the levels needed to kill fish. So you have levels of these toxic chemicals we talked about, 150 times the levels needed to kill fish, let alone humans, evaporating into the weather systems and going right up the center of Texas, all the way straight up the middle through the Great Plains to North Dakota and east. I mean, we're getting reports from all over, and that's why we know this isn't just a local phenomenon from a local problem. We're seeing the same burning of the leaves, dead fish, and the destruction of whole crops as these chemicals are raining down all over the Midwest to the eastern United States.
And people are breathing this, too.
And people are breathing it, and what, first, this is very, very scary, and then we're going to talk about what we can actually do about the problem, because there really is something we can do. But the first thing is, when I submitted the reports to NOAA and my sources at Boeing and at Lockheed, the first thing is when these, employees pass it on to their bosses, oh, this is just a myth, it's an isolated incident. But when the reports keep coming in, we really have to wake up, because what we're looking at here is the pollution of our waters, the mutation of all of the biology in those waters. The humans cannot drink from their water tables from the toxic rains, which means virtually the entire eastern United States, right pretty much east of Texas, straight up the middle. And eventually, you could see cancer epidemics if we don't solve the problem right away. And the first thing is to acknowledge, in science, you never turn your back on data. You never say, oh, that's, I don't want to look at that data because it's bad data and it's going to make me look bad. We're talking about a possible cancer epidemic from the entire half of the country.
It's like some people, they don't want to go to the doctor, David, because they don't want to hear what the doctor may tell them.
Exactly. I mean, but when you see media being turned away, I mean, James Fox is, I've been staying in touch with him, and I'm sure you have too, on the Gulf situation. You're seeing camera crews being turned away by the police, and they have every right to have their cameras there, by a corporation that has usurped our government offices, the police, the FBI, and the military. The military is escorting airplanes out of the airspace that have a right to be there. Who hired them? Who gave them permission to do that?
Have you heard that ships are being told, military ships are being told to get out of the area?
Now, this is the big exodus that's happening. We're seeing reports of military ships leaving the Gulf suddenly. We're seeing reports in Florida that no one can get a U-Haul because people are trying to move to get out of there. Because they know what's already happening. I mean, just from the local air quality, let alone how far this stuff is traveling, and they're trying to move west. And so, but you're seeing a president who just says, literally, you can see him verbatim saying that the air quality is fine and the water is fine. And so that's why kids are swimming in the water, and then they're going to the hospital, and they're winding up in the hospitals with lung problems and even death in certain places.
Is anybody else investigating this, David, in terms of...
Well, it's really thanks to the internet. It's thanks to the American people with video cameras, because there is one news channel, and I sent a link to Lisa, that shows the actual news channel that reported the toxic rains, but they're saying we don't know where they're coming from. You see, again, as if it's an isolated incident. But when